methodology, which is really required to the college. And because we have MBA students and PGDM students and BBA students, and really, this is very much required. So that, madam really took a lot of pain, and she planned meticulously, for the 5 days program. I really welcome you, Vandana Samba madam, for this day 4 program. And myself, I also, because being the director of the college, father gave me an opportunity to organize the online FDP webinars. So I organized for the 10 days webinar programs. If you see everyone, Dr. Martina madam, director skill development, she's also organizing the international E-Symposia. I really appreciate and welcome you, madam. And really, you're putting a lot of efforts every day for this particular success of this particular program. I could see that, from the last 15 days, the way you're working day and evening, you understand, day and night, for the success of the program. I really welcome you, madam. Yeah. And for everything at St. Joseph, it's not an individual show. For everything, what happened, there is a group effort. Even father likes the group efforts and the teamwork. And for all the individuals, definitely in our backbone, in the back support, all the faculty members at St. Joseph. Though our college is very small, we are doing a lot of activities for the society, for the development of the students, for the development of the college. So these are all our faculty members, who are extending the great support in the back end for each and every program, whatever is organized by the St. Joseph College. I welcome all the faculty members of the St. Joseph to the Day 4 program. I also I'm very sorry for taking a lot of time to introduce all these people, because it required, because everyone is putting a lot of efforts for every program what is organized by the St. Joseph College. So now today's program, Perfect Hires Doesn't Exist, Talent Identification and Development Insight. I really welcome Mr. Ram Kumar sir, from the HR manager of the General Electronics Company USA. I really welcome you, sir, for this particular day 4 program. And definitely, what happened, your session is going to enrich us. How to identify, how to develop the students to match with the industry requirements. So I take this opportunity to share one or two examples. For this, actually, we did a lot of research. Talent identification and development. So many companies approach in recent days. I'll tell you one of the company where we successful in talent identification and development. This particular area, right now, what happened? Companies also transforming their hiring process. So inbound hiring process to they're going for the outbound hiring process. So I really appreciate the company Barcadia. So Barcadia is approached. Barcadia, another 2-3 companies who approached us. They're planning outbound training program, outbound hiring process. Why outbound training process? Because they're finding a lot of difficulty in talent identification and development when they go for the inbound hiring. So because of that, I'll tell you, there is a program called Barcadia Commercial Real Estate. So which is organized by the Barcadia company every year. So we have the MOU with the Barcadia from the past 2017 till 2022. So maybe in future also we'll extend the same thing with another 2-3 companies also. Whereas we are planning, because talent identification development is really in a big challenge to the placement department as well as the HRs of the companies also. So whereas, we are transforming our hiring process from the internal inbound hiring process to outbound, we are identifying the companies where, we can MOU with the companies. They can they can conduct the training program in the college, and they can develop the students end of the semester, end of the course. They can hire the students into the college. And really, this is very interesting topic, Ram Kumar sir. I really welcome you, sir, for this particular day 4 program. Really, you're uh, uh, going to share great insights, with your global experience. I take this opportunity to introduce our Gracie Madam, who is an assistant professor of St. Joseph College. Madam, please, I request you to read the profile of our speaker for the day, Mr. Ram Kumar.
Thank you, Srinivasa.
Yeah.
A very good evening, everyone. I'm Gracie, Assistant Professor, St. Joseph's Degree and PG College. It's my pleasure to introduce our today's resource person, Mr. K. Ramkumar, Senior Project Manager, PMP CSM Certified Black Belt, RPA Certified, Process and Data Mining, Digital Transformation, Maryland. Mr. Ramkumar is a strong program and project management professional with an MBA focused in finance and financial systems from St. Joseph's College of Business Administration. We are proud to say that Sir is our alumni and also a gold medalist in MBA. He has 15 years of experience in working with GE, NBCU, Johnson Controls, GEA as financial controller and project manager. He has worked in finance, accounting, financial systems domains. Some of the impactful assignments have been the automation of processes, process simplification, standardization, and digitization of the processes. Mr. Ram is a certified project manager with a demonstrated experience of working in the mechanical, industrial engineering, media, power, and water industry. He is skilled in financial systems integration, automation, re-engineering, account reconciliation, financial analytics, accounting, customer relationship management, and robotic process automation, chatbot, and process mining. Mr. Ramkumar is currently working as head of RPA and ERP for GEA Engineering, GEA Group, Columbia, Maryland. Here, he is into preparing roadmap for financial systems implementation and integration, propose and implement solutions for simplification of financial processes, especially AP, AR, GL, integrating ERP with other subsystems, that is payroll, T&E, time reporting, etc. Design and deploy data analytics and reporting tools, implementing automation and re-engineering solutions, evaluate the processes, and determine the optimal and value-driven process using business process mapping, value stream mapping, and many, many more. On behalf of the family of St. Joseph's Degree and PG College, I welcome you, sir, to this E-Symposia. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Over to you, RK sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Gracie ma'am. Thank you, Srinivas sir. And thank you, Father Principal Martina ma'am, for giving us the opportunity. It's indeed my pleasure to interact with faculty. All my interactions throughout have been with the students, but I think you guys are doing a great job in bridging the gap and bringing the students and the faculty and the industry experts together to make this as a learning experience and make use of this time to engage all the stakeholders towards development of the students as well as development of the curriculum. Before I get started, I want to make sure you're able to see my video.
Not yet, sir.
Yeah, video
Yes,
is
sir.
clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it okay? Good. Let me know if you see any issues here due to
No
connection.
problem. No problem.
Okay. All right. Let me share my screen. Do you see my screen now or?
Yes, no, screen we are not yet, sir. We are.
Okay. Give me 1 minute. You should be seeing the PowerPoint.
Yes.
Do you see
Process
that now?
mining won't exist.
Okay, good. Is it okay like this, or is it you want me to zoom it further?
Uh, Jubit, sir. Yeah, yeah. It's better, sir. Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right. Good evening, everybody, and so let's get started. So I was talking about this particular topic with been interacting with Martin and ma'am. So we've been looking at this. How do we identify, or where do we find the optimal place where we can hit it and understand how to bridge the gap or identify the expectations from the industry? So that's when we thought about, okay, do perfect hires exist or not? So do we get, is it like getting the people from the market or from other companies or from colleges? Do we get the right fit? So that's where it started. So I was thinking about it and said, okay, well, let's start with the thought process that perfect hires don't exist. So that is where I just want to walk you through in terms of, okay, how does a company look at an individual or a prospective employee, and how do they identify those innate talents, and how do they groom a candidate throughout this process and ensure that the personal goals as well as the professional goals are satisfied for the individual, keeping in view the organization goals. So today I'll walk you through about how the roles get identified in the industry, because normally as students, as faculty, at times people you might have worked in the industry, you might have seen that there's already a certain perception of certain roles in the organization. But is that true? We're going to answer that today. At the same time, we also tend to think about, okay, well, a financial analyst is supposed to do this, or a HR manager is supposed to do this. So what are those other underlying non-defined roles, responsibilities, at the same time expectations? So there are some be reading between the lines, where you know that this is something which you gotta have, and there are some express roles and responsibilities. So I'll walk you through in terms of the roles and responsibilities. But what I want to focus on today is to reflect upon how organizations look at roles, how the roles get evolved, and then how do we get the students up to that mark so that they can fit into that roles. Now, there'll always be a gap in terms of the role and the hire. So that's the reason I titled it as Perfect Hires Don't Exist. So because anytime you have this campus placements going on, or when we try to hire people, we don't look at, okay, whether this guy fits in 100% of the job. Now, can he rise up to that is the first question that we answer. So hence, now talking about, like, hence we'd always look at, can the candidate in the next 2 years or 3 years, 4 years meet the expectations of the job? Now, it's not that from day one you got to meet the expectations, but the, does he display the required attitude? Does he display the required ability and qualifications so that he can fit into that role? So having said that, let's get started. So perfect hires don't exist, but before that, let's understand the organizational goals. So any organization you talk about, we're always, if we want to be the industry leader, or we want to maximize the profit, or we want to maximize the shareholders' wealth, which is basically the value of the shares that they're holding, which is primarily dependent upon how the company performs and being an ethical and a value-driven company. So very, very important. So these are some of the some of the aspects a company looks at. We want to grow the company x times from last year. We want to boost our profit or earnings by certain percentage. These are the goals that we always get. Now, all goals are not financial goals. And so just remember this point, all goals are not financial goals. So financial goals are part of our goals. We got to improve the employee engagement, or we want to ensure that the customer service is top class in a company. So these are some other aspects which are non-monetary but paves towards the monetary results, which is increased sales, which is top line, increased profitability, and earnings per share, which contributes to profit maximization and wealth maximization. And other than that, like, not to disregard the non-profit organizations, even there, it's very important that talent can redefine the purpose of that organization. So non-profit institutions also, their orientation is more towards service, but they do have goals to reach these many people, or reach the certain countries where people are deprived of food or healthcare. So there are definitely, that's where it matters a lot. We need to ensure that you have right people who can break the deadlock, reach the deserving societies. Next is, when there could be some other companies which would say, okay, we want to deliver value to clients, especially the service-based organizations which do not have a tangible product, like legal services. They need to deliver value to their clients, or banking services. There's no tangible product. So these are the various, I'm just giving you a broad perspective in terms of how the organization goals come into play in terms of defining the roles. So just think about it. So organization has these different types of goals, and these are the top-down goals that are cascaded from a strategic level to a transactional level, where everybody works towards achieving these goals. So having talked about the organization goals, the primarily, in order to achieve the organization goals, the roles get defined. So roles are not like something like this, where, okay, hey, I need an HR manager, I need a marketing manager, I need a finance manager. But the roles get deduced out of the organization goals. So what are the organizational priorities, where we want to drive? Let's say we have a feedback that our customer service team is not doing a great job. Then the goals change towards, okay, can we look at what is the existing skill set of our organization in that particular function, and try to identify what are the knowledge gaps. So that is where the gap analysis comes into picture. So we don't go to the market and say, hey, I need somebody who can lead this function and transform it. No, understand what is the current inventory level of our skills, talent, and then determine what is the gap to achieve the desired position, which is our delivering value to the clients, or being the number one company in customer service. So these are some areas. So definitely the organization goals drive it, but what are the pain areas that we have that get translated into roles? If we see a problem in production, let's say the quality of the product is not coming up to the mark, then we are looking at identifying an engineer or somebody who can study the quality of the product and come up with required changes to the processes, maybe a black belt or a green belt, who understands how to eliminate waste in the organization. So these are the multiple reasons why certain roles get evolved. These are the multiple reasons why certain roles get redefined, certain roles get identified in the organization. Srinivas sir, how do you want me to go ahead? I just want to see, would, would you want to make it interactive, which I would prefer, where people ask questions
Sir,
in the process?
it would be like, I like, if you can interact, so that will be
Okay,
good. But all
good.
the
I just want to make sure I want to make sure that people can ask
Hello.
questions. I
Yeah.
see
most
already.
of the
Yeah.
what is
Dhanam madam has risen her hand.
Yes.
I don't know why. Just-
hello.
So,
Dhanam ma'am. Hello. Okay, sir. Okay, Ram. Go ahead, please.
yeah, please raise your hand, and I'll pause it, because the idea is to make sure that I get this message across in terms of how to identify the skills and talents and how do we prepare our students. So please raise your hand and ask me a question. All right. So
Yeah. Continue.
so the organization has various goals. So the bottom line, which I'm trying to talk about in this slide, is the organization goals translate into roles. Organization pain areas translate into roles. So which means we don't define a perfect role and say, hey, here is where you're going to fit in. We define a perfect problem. We define a situation, and the individual is supposed to fit into that situation and try to drive value to the company and to the organization. So going back to these roles and definitions, and I'm just adding a different perspective just to give you an idea in terms of how roles evolve in the organizations. We may hire an analyst for in the organization, but over a period of time, it all depends on how the analyst or the individual grooms himself and makes himself a perfect fit in the situation, in the role, or in the future role. Now, if we look at some of the roles and definitions, some of the roles are predefined. Like some roles could be those basic roles in terms of, okay, a customer service help desk, who's a guy who's supposed to take calls from the customer, solve the problems. Those are predefined standard roles. And then there are industry leaders who set some standards. Like maybe, if you look at Amazon, industry leaders, or Microsoft, they have set certain standards and certain roles. So those standards get already defined by the industry. If you look at mostly the uh, companies that work in a certain licensing based industries where certain standards are expected, maybe look at the people who are selling financial products or who are portfolio managers, there are certain standards that they need to adhere to. So those are already set. And then there are some market expectations that translate to requirements, which I talked about. Let's say Amazon wants to improve its AWS cloud services, and maybe making sure that it's more scalable. So then there is an expectation from the market. So the need of the market gives rise to some talent, some roles in the organization, which leads to a talent identification. So roles can be predefined, roles can be industry set, or roles can be driven by the market need or consumer demand. Now, these days the focus is more on multiple dimensions. So if a single role, we are not hiring a person specifically and say, hey, I need somebody who can manage this particular show. We need somebody who can do a basic accounts payable job, understand the vendor queries, try to improve the processes, look at end-to-end process. So these are some of the dimensions that we're looking at. We're not just trying to say, hey, I just need a person who is an HR analyst who can take care of the recruitment. No, somebody who can see the end-to-end process. And these days we have more active P&L and support roles. People who have experience in the IT industry, they know about it. Every individual has now become a revenue generating employee, which means I earn money for my organization, which supports me. That way, there's a direct correlation between what you're contributing to the organization and in terms of the revenue and what's your cost. Any questions here? I want to take a pause here. I want to make sure that people understand the background of organization goals and how the roles get defined out of that. Any questions here?
Lydia, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Lydia, ma'am, you can ask question. You can unmute yourself and ask.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I'm Dr. Lydia. I just want to ask, sir, out of your own experience, maybe you may not be able to, as teachers, if we really want to help our students to get into the job in the contemporary situation, and as a HR, what out of your own experience, can you please suggest what would be the basic skill set we need to equip our students with before seeking a job in the industry?
Definitely,
Because,
ma'am. Definitely.
yeah.
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead. Sorry.
The thing is that because we know that the needs are changing according to the time, like the way you have defined right now. Previously it was specialized roles, now it is multi-skill or multi-dimensional roles which they have to play. Just because you mentioned that point, I felt like even equipping them multi-dimensionally, there is a limit with what we can give to them before they go into the industry. Later they will learn, it's absolutely fine, but the basic things as an HR which you look into, what are those things we need to equip the students with?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just a small clarification there, ma'am. I'm into the financial operations, and there was my HR. We were trying to get our HR manager also on board on the call, but we couldn't get her due to a schedule conflict. But I'll definitely answer your question there in terms of what is required and what you need to equip your students with in order to get accepted into industry or be industry prepared, I would say. Okay. All right. So I have a separate slide to cover that, but I'll give you some reminiscences there in terms of. So primarily, these days it is not a single domain focus. We need individuals who understand multiple aspects of of a firm. Basically, if you're looking at, okay, I need a person who understands how an organization works, how the business model works, how the company earns the revenue, what are its customers, who are its vendors, and how do they look at the entire process of source to pay, which is basically how they are procuring the products and selling it, and where are they getting their customers from, what is their customer segment. So we need individuals who can understand the business model and how the organization functions. At the same time, come with a skill set in terms of this information technology skills that are required to run the organization, to run the shop. And the other one is basic, very, 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 very important, is the soft skills about ability to integrate with others, being a team player, and try to raise hand when there's a problem, because we don't expect the people who are coming on board, from the academic side, we don't expect them to, do firefighting right from the day one. But the point is, can they raise the hand at the right time and flag it to the management so that relevant resources can be engaged to solve the problems? And then can they integrate well and embed with the organization and work towards achieving the goals of the organization and the department? So can they see themselves? Can they relate themselves to the organization? And next, importantly, because from an HR perspective, or because I'm part of the hiring team here, we've hired about 48 people in the last 3 years here. On an average, we interview at least 10 to 12 per each role, 10 to 12 candidates for each role. And we were not always looking for a perfect hire. We were looking at in terms of whether the person has the right attitude to work in a group. Can he integrate well and embed with the organization? How would he fit into the organizational dynamics and the existing team? And then does he have the required skill set? So look at this. The attitude plays an important factor, but at the same time, if you add the fire of skills, he will have a great growth trajectory here. So I've covered some of the specifics in my next slides, but there are some basic skills, at the same time, some of the technical skills that an individual needs, and more importantly, the soft skills and the communication skills, which I'll talk about more in detail. I have it in my next slides. So
Okay,
what I
thank
was
you.
trying to do was, sure, ma'am, what I was trying to do is to give you an idea in terms of how roles are changing, how roles have become from a single domain focused role to multi-dimensional roles, and where people are expected to, with the current IT information technology based industry, where you are supposed to be a revenue generator for the company, and then you're talking about establishing the support roles. And then, so I hope I have answered your question, ma'am, but if not, I'll be able to go through more in detail.
That's fine, sir, because you have mentioned that you have it on the slide, which we'll mention later. That's absolutely fine.
Yes, sure, sure. And then I have other participants who have raised hands, please. Go ahead, ma'am. I can't see the names of people who have raised hands, but okay,
Uh,
Anita, ma'am, and yes, Anita.
yes, Ram, I would like to know, like, see, when the roles are changing with the initiatives that are taken by digitization or lean or quality, how, see, if a person is already given a role and then based upon the changes that are happening in the market, how are the no how the what exactly the person need to do, how it is being communicated, is it being communicated no weekly or a monthly, or is it only yearly, like how when there's a
Okay.
change it need to be communicated immediately. So in the organization, how do they do that?
Okay. Now, initially from an organization structure, you will see a functional structure like marketing department, HR, finance. I'll give you an example here. So we had a problem in production system where some of the production orders where we try to transact the production orders, there was a problem where the costs were not posting correctly. So now this is the problem that we are having. What the focus is to solve that issue. What is the skill set that we need? We need somebody from finance, we need somebody from production, we need somebody from the operation side.
Yes.
So now this is what we've identified. Now, how do we communicate that? Now, as a finance manager, it is the responsibility of the finance manager to account for the cost and the revenue correctly. As a production manager, it is the responsibility. So it's part of the underlying responsibilities. But then we define a matrix team, which is including a cross-functional team members who work on that. So
Okay.
now if you look at here how that role, initially being a finance, gets embedded with the production team to solve
Correct.
that problem. So it translates into a functional role to a matrix role, where you're working with different functions to solve a problem. That is one. The other one is quality issue. Let's say I want to improve the quality of our products or quality of a service. We're talking about organization-wide quality. So
Yes.
here, now, these kind of initiatives, they don't just start with one department. These are done at a strategic level, and then they establish a task force to solve those issues. Let's say if our market share is shrinking, let's take an example. If a company's market share is shrinking, task force would immediately jump on it and figure out, hey, where do we need to fix this? What are the issues? Then they bring in all the functional experts, finance, marketing, HR. Marketing may say, hey, our training material is not good. Our training manual is not good for the customers. We need to improve that. HR might say, hey, we don't have the required talent to take this mission forward. Then we pitch them in. So that's how, so the situation, the initiative, the problems will create some roles. That's the point which I'm trying to talk about. And then would we get a perfect fit for that? No situation? No. We will then build a cross-functional team in bringing all the required skill set together to solve that issue. Now, this is where it's very, very important for the individual to see the end-to-end process. I can't say, hey, I'm just looking at my finance part and I'm going to deliver only on finance. No. Can you step outside and figure out and understand how the production system works? Not the technical part. I'm talking about from the process side, and understand how that is linked to finance. Because at the end of the day, it's the entire organization that sums up as part of your operations and your P&L. I hope I've answered your question, ma'am. And
Yes.
so
Yes, Ram.
in terms of the communication, you're right. The in this kind of change management, crisis handling, very, very important. You communicate more than less. So
Yes.
so now more importantly, these roles are not handled at a transactional level. At a strategic level, they identify and then say, hey, these are the 5 resources. We need a weekly update from these guys. We need to make sure that you guys solve the problem. And if there's any problem in terms of getting the required resources or the knowledge, we relay that information across. So there is a strong strategic focus, and then there's a change manager who drives that process.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ram.
Sure. I think, do we have one more person who's raised hand? I just want to make sure I've addressed all the questions.
Lydia, ma'am, sir.
Lydia. Okay, good. All right. So I hope I've clarified the question in terms of how roles emerge, how roles get defined, how roles have moved away from a predefined roles to a crisis management, change management roles, or a solution oriented roles. So now let's talk about industry trends. Now you understand how roles get defined in the organization. Now let's understand where the industry is going towards. So let me make this. So the industry right now, you talk about any industry, you talk about your traditional bread and butter industries, or you talk about the education industry, healthcare industry, or e-commerce. Everywhere, data is key now. Now, can the students stay away from that? No. Can the students equip knowledge? Yes. So this is where we need the faculty to focus more on these areas where people are more data driven. because today, the speed at which patience level of people, have gone down. People want everything, yesterday. They're very, and you talk about it because that's how the companies have pampered the customer also. 2-day delivery, 1-day delivery, same day delivery. Gone are the days where you used to write a mail from the border. It would reach after 2 days, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and somebody would read that letter for them. So now gone are the days. It's more instant. Like you don't answer in the next 15 minutes, somebody will say, "Okay, are you still busy?" So those are some areas. And
Change
the attention span of individuals has gone
changing
down.
roles గురించి మాట్లాడతా how you have to explain.
So it has become complicated for companies to handle, and the expectations of the customers have gone up. So if you look at the industry trends, there's more focus on innovation. Like you talk about any new companies that are coming up, all the startups, they're trying to find a gap in the customer's need and trying to address. You talk about your Uber, you talk about the food delivery guys, Uber Eats. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to catch that particular gap that they have and try to serve the customer. And you look, and focus right now is digitization and transformation. Any company you talk about, if they are behind on digitization, they're going to, it's eventually going to die. So the focus is more right now on how can I be at the customer's fingertips, be it using an app or be it in the television. So how can I integrate that? How can I make the customer part of the ecosystem? So we need students who can think about this. So maybe as part of the faculty, what you can drive towards is as part of the business plans or case studies. Ask them to see how can they integrate their plans, say it could be a marketing plan or a business plan. How can they ensure that customer is part of the journey rather than being the final goal? So that you're working with the customer to develop a product, you're working with the customer to change his experience of buying a product. So these are some areas. Like if you look at now, you order something on Amazon, the guy, after the moment you place the order to the point it's delivered, he keeps you posted. The customer wants to be informed, which means can we have an individual who would give only updates only at the end of the day or end of the project? No, we need somebody who keeps on giving real-time updates. So what is the requirement there? We need good communication skills, ability to integrate well, ability, and also raise an alarm if there's a problem. So what does Amazon do right now if there's a problem? There looks like there's a delay, a 2-day delay in delivery. Apologies for the inconvenience. Please reach out to us if you have any other questions. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to engage the customer, keep them informed, and stay connected. Now, can we have students or can we have employees who are not proactive in those roles? No, we need somebody who's more proactive, likes interacting with the customer, keeping them informed. You see how it is shaping, ma'am. Industry goals, company goals, industry trends, and how the skills will add value to that particular position. Uh, any questions here, ma'am? I see this window popping up, so I just want to make sure I'm not missing. Okay, slideshow mode. Perfect. I'm trying to do slideshow mode. Give me 1 minute.
Slideshow.
Is it okay now?
Yes, it's okay.
Perfect. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Sir,
So
can I
right.
ask one
Yes.
question?
Your voice is breaking, sir.
Can I ask one question, sir?
Yes.
So, please, being a placement officer, and I want to ask you a question. Being an HR, what things really you expect in the preliminary rounds of the interviews from the students?
Well, okay. So from the preliminary rounds, we need students who who are a little analytical. Can they see a problem? Can they understand what are the areas that they need to focus on? Can they identify the factors? Maybe it could be a small case study. Can they identify the influences, the factors? See, at the end of the day in the organization, you're not a single person who's going to solve the problems or who's going to take up the role. You need to work with somebody else and you need to interact with others. Can you understand those? Or you wait for somebody to tell you what to do? So these are the fine differentiations. Can the individual drive the role that he is into? Or does he need to be driven by somebody? So we need some who make sure people have good communication skills, who have good emotional quotient to understand, okay, you don't go to an irritated boss at the time and ask for a hike, right? So we need somebody those kind of uh, emotional quotient to be elevated, and more importantly, the attitude part, because we've seen hires where they would come and say, it's not my job. No, we want them to behave boundaryless. The idea is the more boundaryless they behave, the better they are accepted in all the functions. And then it makes a greater case for, promotions as they go through. Think about it. Let's say if I say, okay, hey, I'm a finance guy, I'm not working with marketing, HR, but at the end of the day, I am responsible for the expenses. I'm responsible for the profitability of the company. Make sure that I inform the marketing guys, hey, you're going over the budget, and letting them know you need to cut down your budget. So how can I work with them if I'm trying to work in silos? The idea is to ensure that you integrate well, and can you see across and stay connected. Good communication skills, attitude, and data. So data skills are primary these days. Data is required. I'm going to talk about those. I have listed some of the specific areas for finance, HR, marketing. How can they add value for themselves before they step into the industry? I think somebody has raised hand here. Is there an easy way?
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning, Ramkumar. I'm Balasri Prasad.
Sir.
I have a statement. I just want you to make it correct or wrong, because I used to say this to my students that
Mhm.
when you go for a HR interview, HR manager will decide that this candidate has been accepted or rejected within 5 or 10 seconds.
Mhm.
Then my students asked me, then why there is a interview, sir? Then I told them that the interview is because if they reject you, they'll try to check whether are there any chances to select this candidate or not. If they accept, then also they'll go for interview and they'll check, are there any chances to reject this candidate. So whether I want to get an assurance from you, sir, whether my statement is correct or I need to change anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want there was a correction on the title. So I'm not on the HR side, but I definitely was part of the recruitment efforts, but I'll answer your question. Okay. So primarily, HR is not the only one who decides the person whether he makes it in the role. No, the point is in all his interactions during the interview with the functional manager, with the line manager, how did the person display his basic skills, his attitude? So in the next in the 5 minutes, the HR decides no. There's already, if you look at, I'm going to give you the good insight here. There's a standard template which everybody follows in recruitment. Be it all the 3-4 rounds, there's a standard template. So if you 99% of the candidates display a consistent attitude, consistent behavior or answers in the questions that they've answered. So throughout the process, the line manager might have asked some questions which will reflect the attitude, the knowledge level, the acceptance, and which will give us an indication in terms of whether the candidate is going to be fit or not. And eventually, when the questions are asked by the HR, the answers more or less fit into that. So it's basically a pattern you would see, and that makes the HR being the final decision maker at times. But overall, equal weightage is given to everybody. So HR doesn't decide in 5 minutes that a candidate doesn't make it, but it's entire functional managers feedback, line managers feedback, and HR. We all conference together and understand. Okay, hey, HR might raise a flag. I see a flag that this guy is not stable in one company, but we may have a point say, hey, this guy is not stable, but these are some of the reasons. And then we go back and reflect upon it and say, yes, can we hire? So here there is more collaboration, but I would say the answer is not true that within 5 minutes the HR decides whether you make it or not. No, not the sole decision maker. There's a pattern. The candidate reflects the attitude, the behavior, the skills. They are reflected in throughout the interview process. Based on that, a decision is made. Yeah. HR gets those answers through their own questions. Line managers and functional managers get answers through their own questions. Because bottom line, it is the attitude. It doesn't matter whom you're answering. Bottom line, it reflects certain aspects of your behavior get reflected. I hope I've answered your question, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I got.
Sure. Now, Industry trends these days, we're talking about data overload and high cognitive dissonance. You see a lot of distractions and disturbances for the customers, or be it customers ourselves. The attention span has gone down. So these are the areas. So we need somebody who can tap those potential, try to look at those areas, understand the data part, and try to use those the 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 knowledge that he has acquired to solve the problems. So it could be financial data or marketing data, or because you can find out using using data analytics these days, you can pretty much figure out what has been the average rate at which your customers are going away or being added. What are the key products that they're buying? If they take an e-commerce website and try to reach out to them and understand what additional products you can do. So these are the areas, normally if you think about from an organization strategy standpoint, if you go to Amazon, you'll say, okay, hey, here is this product. Here are other 5 products that you may like. So now you understand the link here. You need to be able to preempt the customer's need. But how would that happen if I'm just studying the books? No, you need to be practical, understand how the industry is changing, and understand. Now, I'm in my next slides. I have some areas where I'll talk about how they can equip themselves with this knowledge areas. The other one is AI and robotics are here to stay. They're going to redefine. According to the survey that was done by, I think, World Economic Forum, in the next 15 years, 65% of the roles that exist today will not exist, which means the roles are evolving. The skill sets can't be the same. The individual needs to keep learning and evolve himself, and needs to add more skills for himself as he goes through the journey. We'll talk about it. I have more there. Now, the other one is the shorter turnaround time. So now gone are the days where it was a waterfall methodology. You say, hey, customer needs the product. Let me work for 1 year to come up with the product. No, it's more now agile. You developed, deploy. You develop, deploy. Similarly, you develop a product, go back to the customer for feedback. You develop, fix the product, go back to the customer for feedback. So you're making the customer part of the journey. Now the customer can be another company, a customer can be end user, or a customer can be anybody in the company. So you got to understand this. A customer cannot be seen in a narrow sense that who is the end user of the product. Customer can be an internal stakeholder in your company, which means we need somebody who can continuously interact and lead the innovation cycle and make the customers part of it. So these are some of the industry trends that you see. You talk about anything that you talk about Tesla, like the innovation, how quickly they're deploying things. Initially, look at Tata. It took 2 or 3 years for them to design a car for within 1 lakh in India. Now talk about today's development process, pretty fast. So it was not long ago, but look at how fast it has changed, where now it is more plug and play. So innovation cycle has gone down, the invention cycle has gone down, and then at the same time, the rate at which the products are becoming obsolete is also has gone up. So you got to think at, you need people who can look at out of the box. Now let me go to the next one.
Ramkumar, can I ask a question? Good evening.
Sure.
This is Dhanam. Sorry for that technical problem I had. I could not say a word then.
Sure.
I'm Dhanam. Okay.
Yes.
There's one transition. What you are talking about is soft skills to hard skills to data skills. If you could elaborate on it, I would be happy. Second question is your previous slide, last point, AI and robotics. We are very happy that as an MBA business management department, we have introduced operations as specialization, Ramkumar. Now, what you have said is it is going to be AI. Would you like to give your insights into this? You would want us to include this in curriculum. Trans-discipline is what we call international business, including artificial intelligence or robotics. How would that be having an impact on an MBA student if we would include it in curriculum? That's my question. Thank you.
Sure. So let me elaborate on the soft skills, hard skills, and data skills. So soft skills we've talked about. I have more coming up. Soft skills, we're making sure that whether the individual can communicate his ideas, opinions without any hesitation. Can he connect with everybody in the organization? And then can he integrate with other functions? So these are some areas. Now, these are all purely personal. If I'm saying I'm a timid guy, I don't want to talk about it, I won't fit in that role. I need to open up. So these are some areas. So communication skills, you should be confident, open for change, open for feedback. So these are some of the soft skills. And the hard skills, it's more about, your talent, your qualifications, which you have learned or acquired throughout this process, which are not innate in you. And the data skills I'm talking about is the current technology needs, where you can leverage the existing infrastructure and try to draw inferences out of that so that you can help the organization to make decisions, or where you can make a change in the way the organization sees things. So you basically, I'm going to give you an example. If you have an organization, like for example, Amazon, it needs daily data to understand what customers are buying, what products they need to restock, what customers, what are the certain areas where there's a demand. For example, with this COVID-19 situation, Amazon has warehouses across, so it can't wait for a month to determine where the customer want what. So let's say there could be a state which is impacted badly, and there is a need of PPE equipment there, gloves or sanitizers. So they need to look at real time and understand. So we need somebody who can understand those needs and decipher and translate into organizational action. Customer needs, customer demand, changing into an organizational action. So between this customer needs and changing into organizational action, there is an employee in between who has to understand this, who has to build this, who has to communicate it to different levels in the organization. Because after that, he has to work with the supply chain team to make sure they procure those products. And then they have to work with the logistics team to ship that product. So now you see how they're all integrated. I hope I've answered that question, ma'am, regarding
Yes,
soft
yes,
skills, hard
yeah,
skill, data skills. I just took an example about current situation. Now,
absolutely. Yeah,
in terms of how you can integrate as part of the curriculum, I think I'll come back to the current slide. Now, if I were to look at from a finance person, let's say if it's an MBA finance guy, what are they going to do? What roles they're going to land up in? They may become a financial analyst, they may become an accountant, they may become a management accountant, or they may go towards selling or investment advisors. Now, what they can do here, look at the current trend, stock market. So these are some projects that you can work with the kids. What has happened with COVID-19? Relationship of COVID-19 infection rate to the stock market, and relationship of the the Twitter feeds that have happened regarding COVID and its in relationship with the stock market. So if you look at certain stocks which were tweeted again and again, there is a relationship in terms of its share price. So somebody who is getting into finance side as an investment advisor, if he has an understanding in terms of how to relate these global pandemics and their impact on the stock market, they've unlocked a significant knowledge for themselves. Because tomorrow, touch wood, nothing should happen, but even if there's a small bit of breakout in certain areas, they know what are the natural next steps that would happen, and what are the systemic shocks that they'll see. Systemic shocks are basically stock market crashing, people losing jobs. So they are able to learn and relate to that situation. So that is what we need, the kids, the students. Now, maybe not at a very high end, but can they relate it? No, as part of MBA curriculum, you can talk about take this special case study scenario and understand how the global markets reacted. So what happened to the global consumption, global employment? What has happened there? What are the industries that are impacted, and what are the industries that where the demand was so high that they were not able to deliver it? So see how data is getting part of it. Next, look at the other aspect of it. If we go towards the marketing side, marketing now marketing has changed completely. Now there's no more in-person marketing. How are we leveraging the internet interactive based marketing? How can we engage customers using apps? So you don't have to physically go and see a customer now, but how can I engage the customer? So these are some areas. So this situation has taught us to redefine how we reach our customers and how we connect our customers. So what is the consumption? What is the demand for a product? So the marketing guys can understand that. And okay, yes, can I go and sell a luxury product to a customer at this time? No. So now this is where they can relate what product gets sold at this time, what is the burning desire of the customer. So these are some areas that we can reflect upon. And coming back to the AI and robotics is basically for people who want to get into process driven, where basically supply chain or productions and operations management, where you want to cut down that waste processes or the waste that happens between the processes or cut down the time that takes. So these are some, there there's a significant application for standard products. Maybe you can come ask them, take up a case study to understand the quality issues that they're running into, to understand the problem that they're running into. Companies where recently, if you take the recent case studies, people were scared to get back to the companies wherein they were the essential product companies. Talk about healthcare workers also, they were more worried about getting people onboarded. So what the HR can do at this point of time. So these are some areas, and where situations can be related and then embedded. And robotics, AI is more data driven, and how we can use that for decision making, how we can use for drawing inferences, how we can use that for understanding the current problem. And then executive action is the follow up action after that. You see how I'm like situation, data, decision making, all this comes together.
Thank you so much, Ram.
Sure.
Hello. Ramkumar, there's
Yes.
one more. I've been reading some kind of articles where um, they talk a lot about STEM, no, science, technology, engineering,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
mathematics. So this STEM also is entered in. I mean, it is when we read, people think it is more related to the engineering and technical studies. But in America, very especially in US, STEM is there in MBA education,
Yes.
where the study says that the MBA students with STEM syllabus, they get more job opportunities than the MBAs, that is non-STEM MBAs. That's what is
Yes.
yeah.
Agree.
So no doubt, like in the future, no wonder, like in future, if mathematics and engineering also subjects will come into the MBA, and science also may come into MBA. So what do you say? Is it right?
Yes. Now, technology has broken the has broken the boundaries in terms of the disciplines. You talk about any subject, talk about simple thing like a library, right? Implementing AI there, you would know what are the common titles that are being used by that are being borrowed by the readers, which one is popular in demand, what time people read what, and how the social circle influences the books choice of books. So look at this data being there behind. So then you are trying to come up with the needs of the library. What kind of books do you need to procure? So think about, now look at that and look at Amazon. So purely library was considered insignificant or not so important from a process standpoint. I'm not talking about books. Library, is a place of knowledge. But where I'm coming from is you don't need much data there. Amazon or Microsoft, they are all data driven. But when data comes into certain industries or some sectors where it was not used, it will unleash the potential in terms of, okay, it will redefine the library experience for the customers, for the readers. It'll redefine. So to your point, ma'am, yes, non-STEM will also get absorbed into the STEM areas. They will definitely touch those lines. And yes, people with STEM knowledge, people who are MBAs without technical knowledge, or maybe they get lesser chances, because here is the answer. Digital transformation, data needs will force everybody to get into the technology. Now the choice is upon the individual whether he wants to equip himself to be ready to get absorbed into that area, or he just wants to stay away and not be part of the journey. People who make a choice not to be part of the journey, they will not end up not innovating themselves and not having a longer run in their career. Not to say that there could be entrepreneurs, but my point is about more about the roles. People who have STEM along with their MBA will go a long way. People who don't have STEM as part of that, if they can add their skill set in terms of having some programming knowledge or understanding some data analytics part, how to use some of the applications, it'll help them in long run. Because then you're talking about adding fire to your knowledge. It goes like anything, and I've done that now, because even today, the way I look at it is IoT, AI, it is not just for engineers. It's not for people just for who have done engineers. People who are in MBAs also, they can learn about how IoT can influence and how data analytics can influence their roles and try to add the knowledge there. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just want to bring, I was reading an article on McKinsey, leadership statements that can define value agenda. So I've talked about how industry defines the roles, how the organization needs to define the roles, how customers define the roles, how roles are evolving, what are the current trends in the industry. So look at this, just an example about how the three different statements. So one of the executive was saying, "Hey, I have this new engineering design business I need to create. Over time, it may take over, but I want it to be unconstrained by current processes, current IT platforms, and I need somebody to lead that business." Now look at where does it tell what kind of person he needs. All that it tells is he needs somebody to lead that business who can look at process, current IT structure, and wants to be a boundaryless guy. It doesn't talk about I need somebody with Python, I need somebody with knowledge of AI, no. Somebody who can solve a problem. That's one. Next, the other one. Any questions here? I'm just giving you some perspective about how vague the roles start
Sir,
and
one
then they
question.
translate. Yes.
Sir, this is Dr. S. N. Arjun Kumar from Palamur
Yes.
University, sir.
Sure.
I'm being placement officer. I will get
Mhm.
some FAQs, frequently asked questions. So I have two questions from MBA final year, one question, and the MBA completed one question, sir.
Mhm, mhm,
Sir, MBA final years, now they are in the dilemma. In this COVID situation, which
mhm,
specialization they have to take and which course they have to concentrate. That is one thing, sir. Next, the completed MBAs, is there any entrepreneurship opportunities for HR, marketing, and finance in this
mhm,
COVID situation?
mhm.
These are the two, sir.
Sure. So the first thing is what specialization to choose. First question, Arjun sir, and then the other one is entrepreneur opportunities. Hello. Did we lose? Did we lose him, sir?
No, no,
Srinivas, sir?
he's on mute.
Okay. I just want to make sure. So,
Yes, sir.
hello.
Sir,
Yes, sir. Continue.
Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. So the first thing in terms of the specialization to choose, I mean, I don't have a specific recommendation for a specialization, but I can tell you finance or HR or marketing with, if you add a technology along with that, you do wonders in all these three roles. As I talked about marketing, having marketing along with analytics, and HR with more about HR engagement, business partner certifications they can add on, it'll definitely help them. And then more importantly for HR and marketing and finance, all these three functions, make sure the students get industry exposure in the first year itself. Try to talk to, ask them to talk to their seniors or anybody. Try to get them an internship. Believe me, that's going to redefine how they see the second year studies. Get them an internship of at least 3 months, because 5 weeks, 4 weeks won't help them. At least 3 months, have them do a project or a job and for those 3 months and understand how it works. And then they can relate. So if somebody wants to get into the marketing, have them before they choose, let's say, I'm assuming the second year is when they choose the specialization. First year, have them do the internship in the field that they want to choose. Then they'll be able to make a decision. Now, talking about opportunities for HR, marketing, and finance. Now, you know how it is in terms of the functions. Now, I have finance guys, about 48 to 50 members in our team here, and probably about 6 to 8 HRs, and marketing, probably about 20, 25 marketing guys. So look at how, so depending on the uh, what kind of stream the individual wants, the role opportunity shouldn't matter if he has equipped himself with the skills. But if you're looking for something, okay, where I want to be in finance, yes, there are tremendous opportunities in finance. And if finance and IT, marketing and IT. So make sure the IT skills are primary in whatever role they choose, and then that'll help them navigate. Now, it is also a personal preference. I would not recommend that this is the one which is because I am a firm believer that the individual redefines the role after he picks it up. So it's upon the individual. But employability, number of opportunities that are coming up, yes, there are some areas. Like, for example, a computer scientist is more in demand, or a data scientist is more in demand these days than a mechanical engineer, right? So I hope I've answered your question there, sir. And I'll
Yes, sir.
next slides are for second year students. I have some suggestions for you, all of you. We'll talk about it.
Okay, sir.
Next is the second statement here. I'm interested in digital automation and future of work to make that happen. I need more people in digital areas and fewer people in routine work. So now look at this. The guy, he's looking for more creative guys who don't want to do a routine work, who can design new things. So we need somebody who's more creative and more who understands the like the more intuitive, user intuitive areas. So we need somebody who's more digital. So which means there's an IT requirement. Look at the third one. There's part of the business that's not new, that's not being hit by the future of work. Procurement is my number one value capture. I need to make sure I have the best procurement person in the world. Now look at this one. This guy has defined, the third one has defined as more as a function. The second one defined as something, an innovation. The first initial one defined as somebody to manage the current processes. So look at how the roles get defined. So it starts in a very vague way and translates into a requirement. Now, all these three in common, if there's technology, you can redefine all these roles. So my message to all the faculty here is make sure whatever specialization or area that the students are choosing, make sure technology is part of it. Technology cannot be taken away from that, and they need to equip themselves with the latest one. Look at this, talent factors. So ability of the individual, the skills, knowledge. So I've talked about how the industry is moving. I've talked about how the roles get defined, how the structure is in the organization. So look at this. These are the some of the factors, not all, which impact in identifying the talent. The candidate's ability and his skills and knowledge. This is basics. And then attitude is the foundation of it. Experience definitely helps. And then that'll help us translate into achieving the organization goals. But in this process, you have talent availability that will influence. If I'm in a market where I don't have enough talent, then I may have to regroom, spend time, train them. That's what Infosys did when they didn't have the people with required skill set, where there was a huge gap in terms of what the engineering students were studying and what they're working at. They had to come up with their own I think they had a 3 months or 4 months. They were supposed to go to Mysore and stay there and learn the skills that are required, programming skills that are required to deliver to the customers. So talent availability, market factors. So these are some areas which redefine the commitment of the organization towards the talent. So if they don't find talent, they pick them up, they group them up. If they don't find a talent in a certain country, they move to a place where they can find it easily. Which means, the reason I'm bringing up this point is faculty, you can bring a change by including as part of the regular routine to have some of the case studies which can relate to what the industry needs. Make sure like they're learning about portfolio management, have them use some of the softwares to understand the beta coefficients, correlation coefficients. And they're trying to look at the human resource aspect of it, try to understand what are the hiring trends, and where do we have shortage of people, and how are they what is the employee satisfaction, what is the average employee satisfaction in the company. There are some studies. So the moment you embed all these things, you're trying to prepare them for the practical world along with the theoretical foundation. And then the organization culture and hierarchy also influences how we groom and identify the talent. So if an organization is more fluid, it allows people to go around in different functions. If an organization is rigid, it defines very clear roles. You have to do this and you're supposed to do this. But the problem is these days, the rigidity is going down. I would say it's a good thing. The more fluid it is, the better it is to integrate for the company, and the better it is for the company to react to the customer needs. So this is how the talent and the talent gets shaped across the industry, across the company, depending on these factors. If an individual has skill and talent, and if he's in an organization which doesn't encourage innovation, boom, it's basically a monotony. And if he's in an industry which is rapidly changing, but he doesn't have the skills that are required for it, or he doesn't like change, then he's in the wrong place. So all these influence in terms of, all these factors will influence in terms of how the talent gets developed over a period of time. So if somebody is not averse to change, who's ready to change, who's ready for innovation, they can work in a dynamic industry, a fluid company, and work towards solving issues or trying to come up with innovative products. That is the reason if you look at some of the companies like Google, they have flexi hours. They have flexi hours. They give employees freedom to come up with their own products, innovation ideas. So that is how they groom the talent. The moment you put some rigid rules, boom, it won't encourage the creative side of the employee, right? Any questions here? I'll pause for a minute. Oh, I see somebody talking, but
Is there
yes,
anyone?
makes sense. Santosh, you're right. Multiple skills and talent making one indispensable is primary, and being flexible and ready to adapt. Yes, that is the need of the hour. Yes. All right, let's go to the next one. So how roles get defined? I'm talking about a broad roles here. Look at this, accountant. Initially, if you look at, I need an accountant, we need a finance manager, we need a programmer, IT manager, or finance manager. These are the basic things that they define. But 5 years down the line, no. If you still want to do a regular accountant job, it won't work. You are expected to define the strategy for the company, or define the KPIs for the company or the roles that you're in. You have to define, okay, hey, how do I better manage the finances of the company? No, you are not just an accountant who will go and record the payments and receipts. No, that will not. So the message that I'm trying to convey here is you will evolve in the role, and you should be prepared. An individual should be prepared to evolve in that role, learn more new skills and uh, acquire new knowledge about the industry, about the emerging trends. And so one of the key thing is, you can work with students to identify some of the roles in the industry that they want to choose, that they want to get in. Let's say somebody may say, I want to get towards programming. Let them have an idea in terms of what is the landscape of it. Understand what are the different areas and what fits into his industry. Let's say somebody wants to go into e-commerce. They need to be very good at analytics, and they should be very good at using the dashboards, some of the presentation tools, so that they can play around and identify the trends. Somebody who wants to go towards finance, they should be very good at reading the averages, historical averages, uh, basically for the stock markets, understand what are the moving trends, what are the various uh, ups and downs in the market, what factors are contributing, what is the correlation coefficient. Try to have them use the real-time data and understand. They'll definitely be successful in that role. Because if you think about a typical investment advisor these days, they start as somebody who goes to the client and fills the forms, gets the forms, gets the enrollment, gets the check. No, that is not what it is. So prepare the students to think about, okay, after you join an organization, an investment banker, what are the things that you are supposed to do? Try to identify, understand the portfolio, suggest portfolios to the customer, so they can do as part of their MBA itself, they can understand what are the top portfolios that are working, that are performing, what makes up that portfolios, where did they invest? Maybe it is ICICI Prudential has a better portfolio, or who are the top investment bankers? Why is Rakesh Junjunwala is always preferred? What are his perspective? What are his thoughts about the process, the current COVID-19 process, that's COVID-19 situation handling? How is it affecting the market? Have them read all these things, so then they're prepared for future, because they are able to identify trends. They're able to identify how their future role will emerge, which means when they can see how their future role is, then they can equip themselves now with what they need to be successful in the roles. So this is about how roles get defined, but a very broad way, and then eventually individuals redefine those roles by working on them, by adding more skill set, at the same time making their job better. Because anybody whom we hire, we don't want them to do the same job for next 5 years. No, we need them to innovate, improve the processes, make it better. All right. Any questions here before I go to a small example about two employees?
Sir, one question, sir.
Yeah.
Internal talent identification, you did not tell me. How they
Yeah.
have a measurement, how they are going to do
Okay. So what we do is normally all the performance appraisals that we do for the employees, I'll have next examples that will make it more clear. So internal talent identification is basically creating a pipeline of our resources. Let's say I have 5 financial analysts, and one of them is top-notch guy who understands, who works independently, who is able to manage himself, who is very punctual in terms of what he's doing, and he can see the trends and make some key decisions. And compared to other four, so I have identified my talent, which I want to groom for next level. So that's basically identifying the potential in the candidate. So candidate may have potential, which is more than what is needed in the job. But can I tap that potential? So that's where we work with HR to identify, okay, here's my internal talent. Here is my next 5 years. I need these kind of roles. Can I groom this person from here to here? Can I move this person? What do I need? Do I need to put them in management development programs? Do I need to put them in some other departments, some other companies for them to learn and then move them into this role? So that is basically how the organizations manage. So a person who joins as a financial analyst doesn't end up as an analyst because of his own reason, because he has to display that he has more than what it takes to be an analyst, and then he's ready for the next role. Display that required behavior, potential, display the skill set that he has, and then work towards building relationships in the organizations. Believe me, that does the wonders for them. So lateral movement is movement from one department to another department, one company to another company within the corporate. When I say one company, is one entity, like Amazon India to Amazon US. So how does it happen? They identify the talent and they prepare a roadmap for the talent. Because I mean, none of the company wants to lose the top performer. No, nobody wants to lose the top performer because they definitely want them, because that keeps them at ahead in terms of certain functions.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
All right, next, yeah,
can you tell me some of the key performance indicators for the freshers?
yeah, I'll talk
Can
about it. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. I have it. I in my next case study, I have put two case studies, two employees
Sure, sir.
where,
Sure.
so which will talk about those key areas. Okay.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Uh, so here is employee Alex. He joined as a junior analyst in 2005. Qualification masters in accounting. Rating is top 20%. So he's a guy who's always been appraised as part of the top 20 talent. And he got promoted in 2007, 8, 11, 14, and 17. And his strengths are consistent performance, positive attitude, takes initiative, systems thinking, analytical, detail oriented communication skills. So this is a case study. So all the good that can be is here. Okay. Next is development areas. He has to build his cross functional knowledge, which basically he knows his job, but he needs to understand the other functions. ERP systems, working under pressure. So these are some areas that were identified as part of his appraisal. Now let's look at the key things that are important here. Consistent performance. An individual should be able to do what is expected from him. So this is one of the KPIs, Srinivas sir, we're talking about. Able to deliver
Yes, sir.
what he is supposed to. Positive attitude, comes with a positive attitude. Like he's not somebody who's like, uh, um, there's a book. I think I've talked to the students about it, about a bus, uh, get my bus something. There's a book actually that talks about 4 different people on a bus who get on the bus. 4 different people who wants. There's one guy who is very proactive, one guy who doesn't want to move around from his chair. So the employees also fit in those definitions. There are some employees who are proactive, who are energetic from right from the day one. They want to give the best, and they're ready to take initiatives, do beyond their job. So now every role in the organization these days, before they're promoting an employee to that role, they're giving the responsibilities first and then announcing the promotion later. If you understand this, the promotions don't come, okay, hey, from this day you'll get 10 new responsibilities. No, you're given first responsibilities. They'll see how you're doing it and take it forward. So here is where, is the employee open? Is the employee capable to do it? Does the employee have the required skill set? So these are some areas. So learning a system, learning a process is easy. But if the person is not having a proper attitude, is not analytical, or doesn't have good communication skills, it's difficult for him to perform. He's not going to do justice to that role. Maybe something else works better for him. So the KPIs perspective, if you were to look at the positive attitude, openness, and trying to be detail oriented, try to solve the problems. And if you look at McKinsey, when they hire people, they give a case study for them to solve it. The reason is they're not trying to get solutions or innovative or solutions from them. They're trying to see how detail oriented the candidate is, Can he read between the lines? Does he raise a flag when he doesn't understand? These are some areas. Now, cross-functional. Now, look at the development areas, cross-functional knowledge. Now, if I have hired a guy in finance, his knowledge will be restricted to finance. But we need we need this employee to work on cross-functional knowledge. So here, the organization will help them, will help those kind of people by exposing them to other functions, putting them in those projects which involves matrix structure where they have to work with other departments, or putting them on training on ERP systems. So these are some areas. Working under pressure, he has to evolve himself, try to handle multiple things. So if you look at this example, I'm going to go to the next one. Here this is employee George Nick, just now, junior analyst in 2005, qualification is CPA. Performance rating has been low, promoted once. Strengths are domain expertise, process orientation. Development areas, he needs to be a team player. He needs to take up initiatives. He should be flexible, learn latest technology and trends. So here is a guy who is more interested, who wants to take initiatives, who has more systems knowledge, analytical, positive attitude, very, very important. But look at the other guy here. He has good knowledge, but he needs to improve himself being a team player, and he should be flexible. So this can kill his career, or he's in the wrong place, I would say that. So now you see, we need employees with skills, but at the same time, there are some basic things that they need to reflect when they take up a role. Are we good with time, sir? I just want to make sure I'm not. No.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Sure, good. So look at this one now. Reflection. Employee Alex has a learning orientation. This guy has a domain knowledge. Takes initiative. He's an individual contributor. He's analytical. The other guy is process oriented. Communication skills. He needs to be flexible. So look at this. Whom do we promote here? Knowledge is important, but the point is, Alex has more chances of being successful going to a next role than George Nick, right? So you got to look at this. So my point, what I'm trying to reflect upon here is, an employee's knowledge will get him to a certain point, but at the end of the day, it's his attitude, how he moves around, and how positive he is. Can he be a problem solver? How analytical and detail oriented? That can change everything. So over a period of time, Alex will learn. But the point is, if Alex is lacking in certain area, maybe I can give him some additional person to understand. But if he's lacking in his attitude, I can't change that, right? So that's what we do normally. Let's say, because I don't expect the individuals to be, top notch in all the areas. No, I may not know the IT, but I can definitely reach out to the IT manager, get a help from one of the resource to help me understand how certain software works, how I can implement this. So you can get a domain expert, but you can't buy a positive attitude guy, right? So these are some areas just to reflect. So the two things which I want to talk about here is, employee needs to leverage the opportunity. So every organization gives some opportunities to employees to handle crisis, to handle problems, to step up. So that is where the perception develops. If somebody is willing to learn, will wait and learn from colleagues, from superiors, or try to solve the problem, rather than saying, hey, my job is done, I'm leaving at 5 o'clock, I'm done with it. No. Somebody who's flexible, try to take that extra step, extra leap, will definitely go a long way. I'm talking about the World Economic Forum. So 15 years down the line, roles will change. Think about how roles have changed in the industry now these days. So 15 years ago, we used to have a HR manager doing just HR, but HR work, appraisals, making sure paper ads are released. But do you think they're doing the same thing now? No, they have to go through portals, list the employees, go do the assessment of their psychometric test, or and do the onboarding of the candidates. There's a lot of more work. So perspective, academic skills, knowledge of basics and domain, finance, accounting, marketing, IT skills, very, very important. Personality skills, an individual should be flexible, team player, ability to communicate, confident, raise flag or alert when we don't need somebody who will stay quiet when there's a problem. We need somebody who can say, hey, there's some problem here, I need help. He doesn't need to be a problem solver, but can he spot a problem and raise the flag whenever he comes across? And future skills. So when An individual who's joining an organization may not have everything at that point, but if he has his academic skills and personality skills, it's easy to acquire the future skills, because he has to have the willingness to learn, upskill, has to support, has the flexibility to support the organization, and he should be outward looking. If you're more inward looking, you're just trying to learn what's in the company. It won't solve. Go to your CFO or a CIO with an innovative solution. Say, I've heard about this software which can solve a problem. That definitely gives you more credibility. And foundational traits, emotional intelligence, you should have the drive and urge to learn new things, acquire new skills and knowledge. This is going to be uh, the way this is going to be the new order, where you have to continuously innovate, try to add your skill set, your talent, try to learn something new. They got to be multi-dimensional and multi-focused. So, any questions here? I think this is one of the important slide. I've had some questions around this, but I try to identify at a very broad level. Let me go to the chat and just see if this. Srinivas sir, do you see any questions in the chat? Okay, how to add new skills, how to improve presentation skills during interview, how to gain new learning ability regularly, how to infer learning abilities.
Vidyasagar Kumar.
Vidyasagar sir, yeah. Okay. So primarily, how to add new skills and how to improve presentation skills. Now, I would recommend you as faculty, MBA subject knowledge is different aspect. Now, what we need the students to focus on is take up a topic and present it to to the faculty or the students. Let them analyze it, not just try to go capture some data points and write about. Let them analyze. Give them some topics which are more contemporary. Maybe it can be reviews of movies also. It can be movie reviews, can be book reviews. Have them open up, because when you're trying to get them out of the subject, you're trying to make them go outside and learn more. So try to have those presentations, maybe every day three to four students present about topics, or have their own club set up, maybe a marketing club or a speech club, or it could be a finance club where they can talk about. Currently with this COVID situation, one thing which you guys can do is, which I did with my students here, primarily the high schoolers, is COVID-19 strategy, how different countries are handling. This is a classic case study where everybody has the same constraints, but different infrastructure, how they're handling. So then you're trying to have them see a same situation in different labs. When I say labs, I'm talking about countries, because every country has different infrastructure, but how they're handling it. This is a great learning situation. And then also in terms of, let me go back to the question. So how to improve presentation skills? Try to, as much as possible, have them attend some conferences if possible. Then they can relate where they will be in the next 10 years or next 5 years. Try to attend some of the business summits if they happen. A lot of online classes or online conferences are happening. Have them attend those, because the key part of these online conferences is they get practical knowledge there, when the managers, they talk about, hey, this is the problem that we have solved, this is what is going on. Have them. And industry discussion groups, industry forum groups, like NASCOM has some of the I think every month they have some sessions. NASCOM locally in Hyderabad is Hyderabad Management Association and All India Management Association, and there are a lot of American organizations that are conducting free presentations where they talk about emerging trends, technology. A lot of meetup groups possibly. Have them attend those. And then skills interview, if you can work on communication skills, presentation skills, and grooming the attitude, boom, that's what they have. That's all their presentation skills. And learning ability is innate, ma'am. As faculty, I think Vidyasagar sir, as a faculty, you can just propel and lead them, but they should have that innate ability to say, yes, I want to learn something new about here. So let's say if it is Ivan Pavlov's theory, classical conditioning theory, I would want to know more about it. How did he do the experiment? How did that experiment work? Was this applied somewhere? So there has to be that natural urge, or it could be this COVID-19 situation. So that urge has to be there, but you can give them a direction. and from there they have to take it forward. And our learning abilities, intelligence, etc. So the way I'll tell you, the way I look at is my typical, when even, and it's been 15 years for me in the industry. I've been through multiple companies. I always make sure that in a given quarter or a month, what did I do differently in my job? Did I solve a problem? So, when not to exaggerate, but if there is a problem in my department, first they reach out to me and say, hey, how can we solve this? Even if I don't know, I try to go outside, reach out to industry experts, talk to them. Hey, I'm facing this problem. Would you be able to help me? I may not know the software, or I may not know the system, or I may not know the issue there, but at least I know how I can think through. Now, if I don't have any ideas, I go back to a consulting firm and ask them, hey, can I get a resource to solve this problem? So look at this. You don't need to have an answer, but can you take the steps to figure out the answer? That's important. Next, can you reach out to relevant experts? Because an organization doesn't expect a person to be a one-stop shop, solve all problems. No, I don't know. I don't know programming, Java or anything. Can I go to a Java expert and get it? Yes. Can I go to somebody who understands SAP and try to get answers about why this happens with this particular transaction? Yes. So the idea is, can you do that extra step and take this urge outside and try to get the answers for that? So that is very, very important. And then keep adding, continuously adding value to yourself. Like, how can I, because if an employee, like if an employer is paying 100K or 200K salary, he definitely wants value out of you so that you can contribute to the organization. So think about, how to add more, learn new certifications, new programs. That is going to be the order of the day to keep ourselves updated. Yeah. It's continuous learning process. And one thing which I always cherish is try to get into industry meetups. There are a lot of LinkedIn meetups that are happening, LinkedIn calls that are happening, where people can join and learn about the emerging AI trends, robotics trends, and learn from those groups. And psychometric test, we conduct a lot of psychometric test to understand. It's basically, they have some situations, they have some mathematics questions, analytical questions. The idea is to see whether the candidate has assertive, whether he's detail oriented, does he have resilience, has some patience, can he has a problem solving approach, can he think out of the box. So there are about 18 to 22 dimensions that we look at to hire an employee. Not all dimensions, none of them score. Even I did not score high on all the dimensions. But in the role that I'm expected to, there are some key dimensions. Like, say, if you are an IT manager, you should be an out-of-box thinker. You should be able to, you should be process oriented. You should be able to solve the problems, and you should be able to, you should be flexible because you should get suggestions from others. Now, if you're not in IT, if you're somebody who is on the collection side, accounts receivable, you got to be assertive to collect the money. So there are some skills that gel with some roles. There are some skills that don't go with some roles. So you got to make sure that these psychometric tests are implemented to ensure that whether the candidate has those basic skills that fit in. You can't have somebody who is like very soft to collect money, right? You for the AR accounts receivable, you need somebody who will say, hey, this balance is due. When will you be making a payment? You've already promised to make a payment last week. You don't need somebody to say, you have a payment. Do you want me to extend the day? When will you make a payment? That won't work. You see, but the same approach will work in HR because you need HR is basically your ears of the organization. So employees should feel open, should feel flexible, talk to the HR. So you see how the skills change depending on what roles the individuals are going to fill in.
Yeah.
And
When I asked HR managers of the Deloitte and the other top companies, so I asked, why there is a less selection ratio in the campus placements. So when they come for the campus placement, they'll select 7 or 8 students, from Deloitte, the other companies. So they are, insisting us to develop the skill set for the students through the certificate courses apart from the subject knowledge. So that's what they're stressing. I want to share this. So what you rightly point out. So that particular point, skill set is very, very important through the certificate courses. So I asked it because though our college is implementing the case studies in all, but they're asking a special skill set through the certificate courses. What you rightly pointed.
and and try to make sure you engage them with industry as much as possible. Guest lectures, talking to And a good point would be try to get hold of the seniors who passed out 5 6 years ago and have them mentor at least two kids, two students. They'll be able to do it much more efficient way. Next is
There's a question in
so
the chat box, sir.
okay. Oh, let me go back.
Martin, sir.
Yep. What could be the gaps in teaching profession? How to? Okay, cool. So the gaps in the teaching profession, I would say, when depending based on my experience, I'll be able to relate it, and based on how I'm seeing the current students. Key thing is we are in a set structured syllabus, which is good to a certain extent for the basic foundation skills, but we need kids to we need to ensure that they are able to learn the latest technology, latest programming languages, at least get their basics there, because after they come on board, it's easy. I would rather have somebody who has done some basics rather than having them go through the basics in the uh, in the company. So we need somebody who has that basic skills, and try to understand some of the basic. If they can do the on-job training, try to learn some of the areas where how a finance manager looks at things, how a CFO or a CIO looks at it. They'll get some good idea. Now, if it's not possible to get the internships, have them do some interviews, have them go through with a questionnaire and talk to the CIO or a CFO. Believe me, even if they reach out to 10 CIOs, one of them will reply saying that, yes, I will give you 30 minutes of my time to answer your questions. So those are some areas. And then push them. I mean, I'm saying push, but make sure that you can motivate them to take up additional certifications and enhance their presentation and communication skills, and try to do as many case studies as possible in a certain area. At least if we can focus on 6 to 8 case studies in a semester, that'll help them understand the situations, and then have them open up and be transparent. And that's one of the key values. It'll take them a long way. Yeah. So these are the areas, from an academic standpoint, you can work on presentation skills, communication skills, case studies, industry interactions, have them interview some of the interview industry guys so that they can get some live feedback. And mentoring, very, very important. Mentoring doesn't start after MBA. Mentoring starts right there. So I want to give some of the current trends and bridging gap. I hope I've answered that question, sir.
Yes, sir. There is one more question from Mr. Santosh.
Okay. Do you think Kavya ma'am also raised a question? Yes, through the Coursera, Swayam, or any platform such as which add on? Yes, it definitely adds weightage, because by then the student has already learned about um, the emerging trends. Then it's easy. So if you have somebody who wants to learn finance, you can encourage them to do some certifications on finance, so they'll understand what gets into that, and ensure that they have a mentor when they're doing the certifications. Don't just let them decide on that. Let them have interaction with the industry guys, talk to seniors, talk to some, and figure out their roles. Based on that, let them chart the path. 2 years they can use efficiently, do at least 3 to 4 certifications. Boom, they'll land with a placement. Yeah. Think about it, like they're not just, you're not just preparing the MBA students with their certificates, but you're trying to get them the required skill sets. And then let me go back here. I'll talk about here. So as faculty, I think I have one more question. I'll come back to that. As faculty, make the domain stronger. Have them understand the debits and credits in the finance, if you're talking about finance, whether they can read a financial statement. Let them do a financial statement analysis. That would be a good project for finance. Give them the P&L and say, hey, analyze and tell me what has happened with the sales, expenses. Let them compare. Give them an Excel sheet. Let them do it. And then try to understand and let them understand how company looks at the profitability. And then active industry interaction I talked about, on the job training, and some of the softwares like SAS is there. They can learn SAS, or Tableau, how to use Tableau, Power BI. SQL will be an essential skill, man. If they can have it, it's going to go a long way. They should know this, and how an ERP works, how an ERP, have them trained on SAP or Oracle apps, understand the finance part of the ERP. They don't need to build an ERP. Understand how a ERP works, how does it work. Get them trained on the basics of the ERP. So that way, think about those small factors make a big difference when we hire. The candidate knows SAP, he doesn't know SAP. These are the two areas. If he knows he has a weightage, I don't have to. I don't have to spend time teaching him. So that those they'll get some points there. If they have good communication skills, good presentation skills, good attitude, and along with that they have some technical skills. Boom! It's a green signal for them. Marketing, try to have them, they can reach out to this RK Swami, BBDO, or Ogilvy and Mehta. Try to ask them to connect with those folks and understand how they work on integrated marketing efforts, how they design the advertising strategy or the marketing strategy, and what is the pricing policy, how do they go towards that. Try to have them interact. And there is digital marketing now. They can do a surveys of customers, get the feedback, because the idea is marketing. If you can connect with any customer, you're there. The idea is to break that silence. And the other one is, then this is where I was thinking, I'll work with Martina ma'am here. We got to walk them through some of the basic processes about how a accounts payable works in the company, how an accounts receivable, and have them visit a company and understand how it works, document it, and prepare the process so they know how in reality it works, rather than okay, when we are paying cash, we are paying, this is a journal entry. No, how does it work? How does a purchase order get generated? How a payment gets made to the customer, how we get money from the customer, and how does the marketing team find the customers? How do they reach out to them? Try to, and all this in answers they'll be able to get in this industry interaction. So try to get them that. And take up additional certifications, encourage students to do industry surveys and interviews as much as possible. And even when they join the company, I have done that I can proudly say it's been almost like I've moved away from GE, I'm in GEA now. So most of the folks whom I've worked with are in some established positions. So we have already established line of communication, because when you talk to a person, interview them, you establish a bond that will last for long, because you're giving an opportunity for somebody to talk about themselves for 30, 40 minutes, and that will be a learning experience for you. And then you're building a relationship. You never know when he'll give a helping hand to pull you out in a career, right? So those are some areas. And crisis, stress management, situation handling, try to give some role plays for the students in the college. Ask them to behave as an HR manager or a marketing manager. How will you solve this? Break that monotony and try to go away from the routine books. I understand syllabus is important. We got to get that. But how we can do it creatively by embedding some case studies, presentations, try to bring them in. And good part is you don't have to do anything these days, because there's a lot of TEDx videos, case studies, a lot of resources are available. McKinsey Quarterly, have them and you guys can also subscribe McKinsey Quarterly, enriching articles. For COVID itself, they've released a lot of articles, which is basically the industry experts talking about how they're handling COVID situation scenario for their company. So this is about the gap. So
Ramkumar, can I go back to that slide for a minute?
yes.
Thank you. Financial analytics, you've said these latest technologies for students to learn is a must. What you said. There is a preconceived notion, or can I say it is a fear students have to learn all this? Do they need to have programming skills? One is that fear students have. Two, second question of mine is, would you like to list certain additional certifications? What is the mention there?
Yeah. So depending on, because ma'am, let's say first thing, do everybody need to have programming skills? No. But if I want to make a role for myself, if I want to get into, say, a banking industry, I don't need to be a programmer, but I need to understand what are the Basel 1, Basel 2, Basel 3 standards are. So if I'm going towards banking, because Basel standards are different for banking. And then I need to understand how banking asset liability management works, ALM. How does it work? Practically, they need to know that. And next, how the stock market works. What is investment banking? What are advisory services? How a portfolio changes? What is correlation coefficient? What is the current beta coefficient of Reliance mutual funds? What is it? So these are some areas. So there they can go for certification with I think they have a capital market certification. National Stock Exchange has that. So depending on what area they choose, they can go for that. Derivatives trading, how derivatives work. How do they work? How do people use options? How do they use forwards, futures? How does it work? or commodities market certifications if somebody wants to go towards investments, right? So these are some areas. So HR also, you have some nice, HR business partner certifications. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, there are a lot. I just listed few just to give you some ideas, but feel free to reach out to me. I'll share my, in the chat, I'll share my email ID.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And then let's go back to this one. So one thing, uh, very, very important networking skills. Make sure people, let them get out of their comfort zone. Let them talk to people, break that ice. If you break that, they'll be able to establish connections with across the industry. Now these days, managers are no longer, carrot and stick managers. They are coaches and mentors. There's more sensitivity now. They're trying to be a mentor for the employee. So now these guys, if they get mentored now, they can be better mentors in future. So some of the how the companies handle, I've talked about throughout, my presentation, but I just captured here. So I talked about portfolio management certification, investment banking and insurance products training, analytics training and certification, digital marketing and analytics, financial analytics, on-job training and certification, process and solution orientation, attend industry conferences and interaction, quality, lean training, project management, industry service. So these are some things. If you can, every guy who takes a marketing specialization, have them go through industry service and studies. And everybody who goes for investment banking, have them do the certifications of nationals, NSE certifications. You can in fact partner with them. And somebody who wants to go towards accounting, get them certified on IFRS. IFRS is the International Financial Reporting Standards. They need to know that. It will be a big advantage for them, IFRS. Okay. So these are some areas, that you can focus on. I can definitely, if you have questions, I can been working with some of the students. I've been mentoring remotely also, and as well as here. So I can help you guys in identifying some of the certifications if you need help. Any questions? I think this concludes my presentation.
Excellent
I
presentation,
think
sir. Any participants, any questions? You can take another 5 to 10 minutes.
Sir, one question relating to skill, sir.
Yeah.
Nowhere I could see this SAP tool, sir. Why they have gone down, or their intensity now we don't have?
SAP?
SAP.
No, SAP is still a standard. It's one of the very good skill set to have. SAP is one of the good skill set. ERP, my point about ERP was that I didn't want to write a specific ERP.
Okay.
I mentioned it as ERP. You have SAP, you have Oracle, you have Microsoft
The student
products.
can go for with SAP SD, FICO,
Yes,
they have the careers in that.
Yes, they can get an idea about how it runs. They don't need to, because unless they decide their firm that, okay, I want to get into this area, let them not go for this high paying certifications. Let them get the training started so they can understand how it works. Yeah, maybe, colleges can partner here and get some external experts. Even if 1 hour a day, they're trying to learn outside of the syllabus, long way to go. Long way to go.
Thank you, sir.
And then I'm supposed to get back to one question. I think could be gaps in teaching profession, how to overcome. I've talked about it. And oh yes, TCS, the Coursera certification, yes, it definitely helps. Try to create some meetups. College can create meetups where they can get industry experts to talk about meetups, groups, so that you can engage the industry experts. And next is, do you think that our education lacks practical oriented learning? Honestly, what we read hardly comes in our job profile. Yeah, definitely, there is a bit of there's a significant areas where we are lacking uh, because we are more on theoretical side, but practicality what matters a lot. So good program would be, have them go for internship 2 days a week to a company. Try to, here is where the placement officers can do a lot of changes. Now, even if they're able to come to college for three full days, and Thursday and Friday they're going for on-job training, half days, it's going to change, because let them go learn about it. Try to get an idea about how a purchasing process works. Let them and connect with people, do industry service. And I feel so good because I'm a product of Loyola. Every Thursday and Friday we used to have industry service, and every summer we used to have internships. That changed everything. Built relationships, learned about a lot of practical aspects of the industry. So that's, and then, but the main drawback is that so much of theory is dumped in. So yes, that is the biggest problem that we have. A lot of syllabus and with limited number of classes. Now here where I would say, as faculty, what you can do is standardize the delivery of structured classes, maybe have the PowerPoints ready for your 20-25 sessions and try to target your sessions for a semester to 20. I'm just making an example. Let's say the syllabus requires 25 sessions. Try to get the syllabus done 50%, 60%, with a structured format. Then your pressure would go away. That way, you're not investing time on your covering your syllabus aspect. Yeah. Any questions here? I think I'm.
Participants, any questions? So we have another 5 minutes.
So I'm sharing my email ID, and
Yes,
for any
please.
questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll send the presentation to Srinivas sir. He can forward it across to everybody.
Yeah, we'll send it.
Okay. Yeah.
Martina,
right.
madam? Or Martina, madam, are you there?
Yes, yes, I am there.
Uh,
Kumar, the PPT which you sent, it is the same, no?
yeah, correct. That is only
Oh,
that presentation. Correct.
sure, sure, sure. There is no inclusion. Voice is
Samuel,
unmuted.
sir, you want to add some
I'll
remarks?
send the updated one. I'll send the
Oh,
updated one.
sure, sure. Thank you.
Oh yeah, if there's anybody else who's got a question, then if time permits, I'll just add on to certain questions which people were asking. Can we give a big virtual hand to Mr. RK? It's not easy, step by
Yes, sir.
step, so patiently, step by step. Can you give a big virtual clap? The virtual clap is right below there in the reaction button. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because taking the time off all the way from the US and coming, giving such a practical thing. So thank you so much. Yeah. So an attitude of gratitude is very important at the end of the day. And so, sir, shall I just add on a couple of points?
Please, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So there was some question how to find out the jobs, how to find out the market. See, I'm from typical business school. The only thing is you're in Hyderabad. I'm in a village near Vijayawada in VIT. So what we follow, it's just a recommendation for the business school teachers. We have a metrics, all right? As a teachers, we have a metrics. I know what I'm going to say is, it may be a little weird because when I started it 8 years back, people said, he's gone crazy, Paityam on the cheap, he got mental, like that. But let me tell you how that worked for me. Okay, every teacher, especially business school, if you're teaching 3 courses or n number of courses, I don't know how many courses you're teaching, each course into 5 company consultancy. If I'm teaching learning and development, I, as a teacher, should be a consultant to minimum 5 major, minor, small, medium companies in learning and development. If I'm a consultant to the industry, I know what the industry wants because I'm working with them and bring those case studies, as RK sir is saying, to the class. Now, can you put a metrics to yourself? We say network, network, network is important. All right. What is my network? Because your net worth depends on your network. Your net worth depends on your network. So as a teacher, if I'm teaching 3 courses into 5, 15, if not 15, 10, am I a consultant? If the industry wants me, that means they know, hey, there is a guy, and this is how I got a lot of placements in Microsoft, Google for my students. They're living examples now. Because I consult Microsoft, they know the quality of this teacher as a researcher, as a consultant, and it's all through referral. It's all through referral. It's all through referral. All right. So my humble request to all the teachers is, if I put my CV today in the industry, who's going to select me? Let's come to the other side of the table and talk. I know my questions are tough. If all the universities shut down, if all the colleges shut down, still can Samuel Johnson survive? That's why LinkedIn is so important. All right. At LinkedIn, if you have I have some 13,000 plus, whatever, out of that 8,000 are my own students who are in a lot of companies. Automatically, the LinkedIn will search your profile and see, map your requirements with the industry requirements. Say, hey, there is a job for you. There's a job for you. There's a job for you. All right. So our boss, whom I was trained so tough, all right, he told us every 6 months, why don't you put your CV and test in the market? You're not going to leave teaching job, but why don't you put it in the market and see if industry can recognize our profile as a professor? Then you see, you will take your students in the best way. So that's my humble request to all of you. All right. If you're going to make them think inside the box, we need to break the box sometime. All right. They say opportunity is knocking at the door for placements. Opportunity is knocking at the door. If opportunity doesn't knock, create another door for the students. Nothing wrong. But provided, what is my worth as a teacher? Do I have network? All right. So for that, I just want to tell to all the people, wherever you're listening from, my humble request. Either you should know somebody to do the work, or either you should know how to do it for yourself. Two things I tell you. Either I should know how to work on Java. If I don't know how to work on Java, I should know somebody who will work for me on Java. In these two things, if we can work as teachers, placement becomes amazingly good, because never ever dump the placement job on the placement officer alone. One person cannot do it. It is a process. It is a system. Every teacher, right? In our VIT, we say every teacher, VIT is very important teacher for placement. VIT, very important teacher for placement. All right. So I'm able to give 5-6 companies to my placement officer. A marketing prof is bringing some 5-6 companies. Operations is giving 5-6 companies. So what happens is, together it becomes a job of a placement officer easy, and mapping that from the first semester. My last advice to all of you would be, sorry, the last advice is, we make a syllabus copy, right? We make a syllabus copy. And the syllabus copy is the same till the board of studies changes. You know, and I know. All right. Only the second unit will go to the third unit will go to the first unit. All right. My humble request is, again, these changes, we brought it 7 to 8 years back when we first started for AACSB accreditation in VIT. I'm sure you know AACSB accreditation, which is world's only 3% of the business schools have that accreditation. दुनिया में सिर्फ 3% के स्कूल है जो AAC. Now, when we started working in 2007, I remember, all right, failed. 2008 failed. Not even application. I'm talking about application. Application reject हो रहा था हमारा. Just imagine, we are not able to put application because there are so many standards. So that's why we learned. You should definitely catch her up. Ellen Peacock. She sits out of the Asia Pacific office in Singapore. All right. She was then our consultant for AACSB. One thing I would request all the business school teachers, which will help the placement officer, is one thing. In your syllabus copy, can you just add 2 columns, corporate mentors, alumni mentors? Add it. Because in our school, without giving minimum 5 corporate mentors and minimum 3 alumni mentors for that subject is not going to be passed in the board of studies. Why? Because every unit, the assignments is not given by me. The assignment is given by the industry expert. You may think, what is this guy talking? You know, no problem. Getting the point? My last piece for all of you, because RK sir brought it beautifully. I just want somebody to answer this so that we get the dialogue here, okay? My simple question, after your students pass out and get placed, when they go to the industry, does the industry put exam? Quarterly exam, half-yearly exam, yearly exam? Yes, no. Somebody can either answer it on the chat, or you can unmute and talk. Quick.
No, sir.
will solve the problem. Sorry?
No, they won't conduct the
There
quarterly
is no
exams.
exams. There's no
Yes,
exams.
yes.
Okay. Now listen to this question. What industry you want is the student should work from day one. The employee should work. पैसे के लिए पैसा मिलता है, पैसे के लिए पैसा देता है. You getting the point? Now, if the student has to work from day one, why can't we make them work from day one of the business school? Are you getting my questions? Are you getting my questions? I know it's tough. Some people can't take it what I'm saying. Getting the point? If students have to work in the industry, why can't we make them work from day one? Abhi ragdo usko. Then he will understand, hey, my prof did the best thing in my life. You getting the point? Okay, now when there's no exam, can I tell you one thing what's happening in the industry? After your 10th standard, all of you, you get a conduct certificate, you get a TC certificate, you get a mark certificate. That goes to the conduct certificate in 12th. Then again, after your MBA, you get a conduct certificate, right? The same conduct certificate, which is so important, the companies are giving it as performance appraisal, 360-degree feedback. You're getting my point, what I'm saying? KPI, RPI, PEI, performance indicators, they are all the conduct certificate, right? Now, when they are going to make them work, why can't we make them work from SEM 1? The problem with our academics is we want to teach everything, which is not needed by them. All right? Can we make them work? All right? My course on social entrepreneurship, all right, is a 3-credit course, two classes in the village, 1 classes in the session. Has to be in the village, boss. No matter your kiska baap ho, kiska beta ho, mere se nahi hoga. Aana hai, social entrepreneurship padhna hai, gaon chal. Now you tell me from the month of July, let's start putting the process. Then put 2 new NGOs who will mentor my course. And that NGOs will give assignment to the student. Student have to submit the assignment to the NGO, put a copy to me. If the NGO says, hey, this guy has done it perfect, give him this much grade, then he passes my course. I'm talking these are possible only by autonomous college. And I'm sure your college is autonomous.
Yes.
Autonomous college has so much of autonomy to bring new initiatives. Yes, but whatever time is telling, ek zamana tha log bolte the ye pagal hai. But now, when so many business schools, when so many cross countries, when so many other business schools are approaching me, just Sam say, you just be a consultant to us, just give you advisory, bas, kuch mat kar. Tera monthly check kitna hai, tera saal ka check kitna hai. Hey, consultancy gives you 3x more than your salary. Why can't we do that? You're getting the point? All right? Through consultancy, we're able to place my students. But all this boils down to the teacher. A teacher who cannot do homework should not give homework to the students. A teacher who doesn't have skill should not talk about skill. A teacher who doesn't have industry contact should not blame the placement officer or the principal that kuch nahi kar rahe in log. All right, so all of us, it's a ball game, it's a team effort. Let's all of us come together, and then you see, my dear friends, jobs are there. So answering to Arjun Kumar sirs, is there jobs for the second years passed out people in startups? Yes. There are marketing startups, there are HR startups. So I'm teaching lean startup management. I have 15 startups lined up for me now. But I did that lineup. That's not the placement officer's job. I lined up when I put the syllabus copy and say, hey, from July, I'm teaching a course on lean startup management. I want you to take 5 students through the whole next 4 months. I want you. Everybody agreed. I wrote to 30, 35 people, only 15 people agreed. Fine. Now 15 people are going to bend my students in the next 4 months. And these students will get internship that will convert into placement, that will convert into job. So skill development is not a joke. Teachers, please, if you think teaching is a, okay. I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry. Very sorry. Homework करो, उसके बाद बात करो. Placement office के ऊपर मत डालो. Getting the point? So that's my humble request. There are jobs available. Only thing is, let us refine the syllabus or put some mentors. And बच्चे को रगड़ो. अरे हैदराबाद में क्या नहीं मिलता यार, बोलो यार. क्या नहीं मिलता हैदराबाद में? सब कुछ मिलता है ना. क्या नहीं है हैदराबाद में, बोलो. You're lucky. All right. So God bless all of you. That's my only answer. I hope Martina professor and I don't know. Sir, I don't know. Am I okay? You can talk, you can say, but yeah, people say Sam is very, bro, he. But what to do? Let's talk the reality. All right. Thank you. God bless. RK, sir, touch up points. Konjam urga touch up, anything you want to?
No, no, I think you nailed it. The point is, get them through that grind, and that will prepare them.
Yeah.
Because there is no way that like these days, patience levels have gone down. They need immediate answers right from the day when people like are
Instant
expected to
answers,
perform.
instant generation.
People are expected to outperform, and there's definitely tremendous. And one thing we got to understand is the number of distractions that we have are multiplying
Oh,
every day.
seriously.
So you
Can
got
I tell
to.
one statement for that? Can I tell a punch statement?
Yeah,
This generation students have got so much of attractions, so much of distractions.
yeah, I agree.
Not only students, we also. Let us admit the truth.
And bottom line, yeah.
But how
But
do
I
we?
think yeah, yes, and I think tuning them with the proper attitude and
Oh,
prepare them as if they're working already. That's it.
yeah. So can I say one last thing, Professor? See, we are telling students take industry visit, industrial visit, industrial visit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's talk the naked truth. Today, not the nation wants to know, RK sir wants to know, St. Joseph College wants to know, Sam wants to know. Let's be truth, boss. What happens, man? What happens? Bullshit. What happens in that industry visit? लेके जाते हो, फोटो लेते हो गेट के सामने, फोटो, वो फोटो को भेजते हो प्रिंसिपल फादर, और आईक्यूसी इतना बड़ा बड़ा रिपोर्ट बनाता है, उसमें एनलार्ज करता है फोटो को. अरे क्या बात करते हो यार? If student has to go for industrial visit, tell me how many teachers went to your area, to area of expertise. I'm a HR guy. How many companies I go on myself to enrich my network without industrial visits? If I can go to my industries, connect my industry network, then I can take my students to the industry visit like this. I know many of you can't get sleep tonight, what I'm asking. Placement officer, sir.
Yes, sir.
अब सर कुछ बोलो भाई, मैं ऐसा चिल्ला रहा हूँ यार, मेरा बीबी बोल रही तू पागल हो गया क्या?
No, your point
Am I
is
right?
valid points. These are the valid points, sir.
The conference is about that. Unleash your potentiality. It says unleash your potentiality. The conference doesn't say unleash students' potentiality. Did you ever think about that amazing topic? Unleash your potentiality. If you're a student, it's your potentiality. If you're a teacher, it's your potentiality. Then you see, boss, we will rock for the students. Your college will multiply, 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 multiply. And God is going to bless all of us if we do our job properly. RK sir, over to you. Machina, over to you. Placements are over to you. मैं मेरे को छोड़ के तो बात करते रहूंगा, मेरे को छोड़ दो tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Machina.
Shall we close, Martina, madam?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I take this opportunity to propose the formal vote of thanks to all the participant, as well as, and especially RK sir. It was a wonderful presentation. If you can see the chat box, there's a lot of good feedback for your presentation. Because earlier we were in the dilemma because what need to be focused. Really, I learned a lot as a placement director today. Organization goals and roles and definitions. What are the industry trends? And you gave very good leadership statements also. What are the talent factors? Especially you explained very well with the two case studies, what are the skill set required for the students, as well as with the help of the good KPIs. And also you pointed out rightly what are the academic skills, personality skills, and future skills, and the personal foundation skills, and where need to be focused. These are all really wonderful topics for today's topic. I really appreciate, sir, coming forward and delivering this wonderful lecture. And really, all the participants are really happy by the end of your presentation, the talent identification, development, insight. Really, we got at a very good path, how to be understood, how to really develop. And in fact, your presentation is also very simple and excellent presentation with the valid points. Because some people I know that they do a lot of animation and graphics and all, but your presentation is very simple and very informative, and a simple statement that really reached everyone, all the faculty members and all the placement members. I really thank you, RK sir, for delivering the wonderful lecture on the day 4. I also take this opportunity to propose the formal vote of thanks. Thanks to our Samuel Johnson sir, who is the moderator for this particular e-symposium, or for the 1 week e-symposium. Wonderful points you added end of the presentation, sir. Really, this is really making us to think more deeper what we can do in this particular teaching fraternity, apart from the teaching, and what kind of the teamwork is required to settle the students in their particular career or their desired dream jobs. It was a wonderful points end of the presentation, like a sugar to the tea. I know you added very sweetness to this particular presentation. I also take this opportunity to thank Martina madam by taking a lot of pain organizing this particular 5 day e-symposium. I really appreciate you, madam, bringing out very good resource people on this particular platform.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also thank our principal, Reverend Father Dr. D. Sundar Reddy, giving the opportunity to all the faculty members. Really treat all the faculty members, his own family members. He make us very comfortable zones. He talk to us. He understand our problems. Really, because I appreciate Father for taking that particular pain, and because really it is a pain. Understanding the other person, it's not a small thing. Understanding every person and defining the roles and giving the jobs to each and everyone. And in the organization, there's a lot of conflicts will be there. Solving the conflicts, understanding each and everyone. Filling that particular gap is a big role to the leader. So that's what Father is really justifying to his role as a principal. I also appreciate our head of the department, Professor Dhanam Teresa. Kind of the support she's extending with all the faculty members. She's trying to bridge the gap whenever we required, conducting all the programs. I also appreciate kind of the moral support supported by Professor R. Anita Madam, Dean Academics, and also Vandana Samba Madam, Professor Vandana Samba Madam, Research Director, and also other faculty members, who supported for the conducting this program successfully, directly, indirectly. And thank you very much, lovely participants. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Srinivas sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramkumar. Thank you, Professor Samuel. Thank you,
Vanakkam, Martin.
Yes.
Srinivas.
Thank you all.
Great.
Thank
All
you.
my dear colleagues. Thank you. Good night. Have a
Good night,
yeah,
ma'am.
good night.
Thank
See you
you.
tomorrow. See you tomorrow, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, Martina ma'am, tomorrow same 5:45.
Yes, sir.
We get back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Chalo. So
Thank
just
you.
send that same email to your speakers. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Can I close, ma'am, with your permission?
Yeah, sir. Please.
Thank you. Bye bye.